Non-duality essentially means abidance beyond polarities. Abidance beyond the dual nature of energies, beyond the yin and yang. Abidance deeper than the energies which play out in a polar way. So to understand non-duality, we should look at first what is duality. The duality is a certain condition where a person acts out in a limited way. In a conditioned way, there's a certain distortion. So non-duality is a deeper place where a being has already transcended certain heaviest dualities. In the presence consciousness, which is prior to non-duality, a person, a seeker, is stabilizing, being here, now, present. I usually give the example of the tree of presence. So a person is stabilizing in the here, now, as a tree of presence, or the being of presence, or the I am of presence. Stabilizing as a tree of presence while there are thoughts, emotions, feelings, and energies. And these thoughts, emotions, feelings, or energies are what I call the weather. The inner weather, the spiritual weather. They all have a certain dual nature in them. So these are called lower feelings, lower emotions, lower conditions, which are dualistic. So in presence consciousness, a person stabilizes in presence and matures to be able to stay present while these energies are flowing through like the weather, while they are arising and disappearing. In presence consciousness, there is a upliftment of certain deep unconscious patterns. This is where the subconsciousness and even certain parts of unconsciousness comes to the surface, because a person has a certain maturity to handle them in their conscious or meditative awareness. So when a person has handled, and by that I mean has stayed present with certain energies, feelings, emotions, and thought patterns or mind structures, when a person has handled that for some period and has stabilized as a tree of presence, then there is a certain maturity of being, not affected by the dual nature of energies, not acting out, being fully aware what is arising and not participating, we can say, in that which is arising, not contributing to the story, not identifying with the story, not acting out on specific energies that are arising. So that is a process of maturing, maturity into presence. And when certain amount of these energies are worked on, when the heaviest dual energies are worked through, a person comes into a lighter state of being, which is non-duality. That the certain heaviness of the duality has been worked through. So a person has stayed present and then healed certain parts which are more difficult and deep, and allowed oneself to mature and simply stay present for the sake of being present, to be for the sake of being. And in that process, after a certain period of time, there comes a certain relief, a certain sense of liberation, a certain sense of lightness, and a feeling that now I have done quite a big chunk of work and it feels now a lot lighter in one's being. So a person has transcended the heaviest, most karmic and most consciousness blocking or suppressing dualities. So therefore the soul on one hand descends into the body. There is a feeling of much greater soul connection and soul descension or embodiment of the soul for those who follow the ascension path. And on the other hand, for everyone, regardless of ascension path work, there is a sense of lightness, that something like some heavy clouds have uplifted and that now it's much lighter way of being. So there is a certain relief and a sense of liberation that now I'm much more free from these karmic conditions. And thus it is called non-duality. Non-duality is not a philosophy, forget about it. It's not a philosophy. It's not something to read about and get some philosophical background about and then to say, oh, I know non-duality now. That is, kindergarten level. That is for those maybe who are in 300s, in inner light awakening, who at the levels of consciousness and who value theoretical part of things and understanding, which is still a mental process. So I get many students who come to me and they said, I've been reading a lot about non-duality. I've been, watching videos about non-duality, and I'm quite good at non-duality. and they're still looking at the whole thing through their mind, and that's not that at all. We know that a person from this mental position needs to first come to the heart, which is inner love, then into unity consciousness, then into presence consciousness, and then into non-duality. There are many steps in between, so it has nothing to do with philosophical side of it. Now, another process, what happens in the presence, it starts and really settles in a non-dual consciousness, is a very large disidentification from a person, from myself. A very big disidentification that someone is here, that I am here, someone is here. This idea that someone is here, this feeling that me, myself is here, which is the I feeling. So there is a big disidentification from the I thought process, from being somebody, someone. So once that is gone, somewhere towards non-duality, and particularly non-duality, a person now feels much more empty, that there is nothing here. There is no one here. So this is called the non-doership consciousness. So non-duality also is non-doership consciousness, because it is clearly experienced, not as a single experience, but it's fully internalized and experienced in a direct way, confirmed within that all the thoughts arise and their thoughts, feelings arise their feelings, energies arise their energies. But who is here? So there's no more story that it is arising to me, that these are my thoughts or they come to me, that these are my feelings or they come to me, that these are my energies or they come to me. So that me-ness, myself, upon inquiry, we can say upon self-enquiry, a meditative self-enquiry, is seen that there is nobody here to whom these thoughts arise, to whom these feelings arise, to whom these energies arise. So the self-enquiry in a deep way, in a meditative way, it confirms that who is here, and there's no one. So the somebody-ness, someone-ness is dropped because it's realized that it's empty. There's no one here actually, and that someone has been the doer. He says, I'm thinking, I'm doing, I'm feeling these emotions, I'm feeling these energies. That's the doer. And this I is, of course, it's ego, and it claims that there is someone. It claims that it is I who is thinking and feeling and experiencing these energies. So this I identity softens up so much in the presence and non-duality that it's dropped, and then it's realized, well, I can't find the I. There's no one really. Upon deeper introspection, upon deeper inquiry, there is no person here. Yeah, so in non-duality, the personhood is transcended. The identity with the person is transcended. The someoneness is transcended. So it's also referred as a non-doership consciousness, non-duality, and also experienced as emptiness or nothingness. So it feels a lot lighter. It feels a lot lighter and much more liberating. So there's no ego self as such. There's no doer or ego self anymore to be kind of found as something which is fixed or rooted anywhere. Yeah, so thus it is already quite a much higher level of consciousness, and I call it the pre-enlightened state of consciousness. Some spiritual teachers refer to it as enlightened, as a first step of enlightenment, but I do not agree with that, because a person is in nothingness. Enlightenment means, by its real meaning, bringing the light or conscious awareness or consciousness into what is here, but the person is nowhere, we can say, in the nothingness. So the person has not brought so much light into the nothingness as well. So therefore, we cannot say that the light of consciousness is very visible, or the awareness is very visible, because a person experiences more that there is no one here, and that there is a void or nothingness or emptiness. So thus, I do not agree to say that this is enlightenment, because it refers to awareness or consciousness of light, this pure light. And that is the next step of awareness. So I call it the pre-enlightened state, the non-duality as a pre-enlightenment. It's already a lot lighter, it's quite liberating, but the light must be seen, the light of awareness, and that's the next step. Yes. The non-doership is abidance in the beingness, into the I am. So this beingness or I am is a transitory state. Is this I amness, and beingness is a transitory state. Because I amness or beingness still implies that that someone is here. I am here. I am. And there is a certain being here. And what is this being? This being is a certain combination of energies in a deeper way, yes? So thus, if one is identifying with a certain combination of energies which are presently here, there is a certain identity. There is someone here. And that is the presence consciousness, to be as a being, as I am. And the non-duality is much lighter, or we can say more transcendent, that even this feeling of being is transcended. The feeling of I am is so much lighter that it's more visible, that we can say I am not I am, because I am is just a feeling or a certain energetic combination that would be referred to. So in non-duality, there's more disidentification, and it's more felt as nothingness, non-doership nothingness, or emptiness, and space, we can say non-dual space. Some of the key obstacles that in non-dual consciousness, the world still possesses disturbances, because there is the unconscious denial of the phenomenal world. So there's a certain denial saying that there's no one here, there's nobody here, but guess what? But the world is here, and there's everybody else here. So while a non-dual person would say that I'm not here, but all other people are here, and the world is here. And that's the paradox of non-duality. Yeah, so many people, I find, they face various paradoxes at the deeper levels of presence and non-duality, because that's where some of the Zen stories come up, that when a student comes to Zen master and says, there's no one here, there's no wall, there's no Buddha, there's no Zen, and the master takes a stick and just hits him to awaken that, well, the isness is here. You should not deny anything as such. So there is a certain denial, and those who are more advanced and kind of a bit longer in the spiritual scene, you know certain people who like denying things around. So this denial is also denial as a nothingness is one of the obstacles of non-dual consciousness, because there is a certain denial of the world, of others, and that denial of others is negation, and in many ways it actually creates a distance from others, a denial that there is a world, a denial that there are others. It creates a paradoxical distance. Yeah, so that's what happens usually in the non-dual consciousness. And in the full consciousness, there's no more denial of anything. That actually everything is myself, the whole world and all others are myself. There's no more myself or others. It's just the self. It's just one thing, and or one consciousness, one being only there is. So that is a completion, and this denial or a distance or a gap is closed. That the gap is closed. So one of the key obstacles in non-duality is denial, and the world possesses obvious struggles and obvious challenges and obstacles, and especially when one is in relationship and or in a spiritual community. So when a person is in non-duality and they're in a relationship or spiritual community, very quickly the world presents itself that it's still here, that there are other people, and that there is a phenomenal world. So essentially, non-dual consciousness, as a little summary, it's already a certain maturity of presence. It's already a certain transcendence from the key karmic obstacles, from the key karmic conditioning, from the deepest, we can say, darkest corners. And thus a person goes through a certain amount of subconsciousness and a little bit of unconsciousness too, and feels a lot lighter and much more liberated, because the karmic dualities are no longer so pressing and so paradoxical. So therefore it is quite liberating, and the soul is much more present, and it feels as kind of I call it pre-enlightenment, because of course, if a person doesn't know the other further steps, they could easily assume that that's it, that there's no more anybody here, and it's the void or the emptiness or the space. I can't find my identity anymore, and a person would assume that that's it, they're done, that they're enlightened. And however, they're not. It's actually a pre-enlightenment, and then there are 4 steps of enlightenment. So that's a common pitfall. It's a common obstacle for those who lack further knowledge, further understanding of the complete cycle into the self. So on one regard, there are quite many teachers who actually arrive to this non-dual state, and they just stay there because they don't know what's next, what's beyond that. But nowadays, since the spiritual teachings are so much more available, is I noticed that certain non-dual teachers, they actually move forward. They actually discover the next step quite naturally, that the next step is awareness. It's the light of awareness, that it's present, and that in the light of awareness, even the non-duality is seen, the nothingness is seen, the nobody is here is seen in the light of awareness. And that light of awareness creates a further, much lighter experience and liberation that could be called as a first step of enlightenment.
Mindo, I have a question about, well, in relationship, when you're in non-duality, you said, well, there is a risk of not being in reality itself. Is it a choice? Is it that it's difficult to be in the reality, or is it always that you are away from reality and in nothingness, or is it just a choice you have?
Okay, I see a bit of confusion here, because you're mixing the non-duality with or nothingness with reality. First of all, you will always be here. Even as nothingness, you are still here. You will still be here, just I am here, in a way, we can say. Reality is a whole new topic of what is reality. It's such a heavy word, reality. Let's say just your experience. It's much better to say than reality. Yeah, let's remove the conditioning of what is reality and just say that your experience. well, you will still have experience of life, of being here. It's just that there is less identity of personhood, of someone kind of fixed, of someone fixated, that someone is fixed here. So it's a much lighter experience of the present moment. Now, the only danger of non-duality, if a person sticks too much with a denial of the world and others. So if a person has no guidance to go to the next step of awareness, then the only challenge is the person is going to be too much negating everything else, and actually will create a certain separation from the present experience. So we don't want to create any more separations or distances, and that's why it's a pitfall or the obstacle of non-dual consciousness. So the denial needs to be closely monitored, and of course to proceed forward to awareness, where there's no more denial in it. Yeah, so you should not be concerned that you're gonna lose a sense of reality, that you're gonna not be able to be in reality. You always are in reality. And reality is a heavy word. It just means a lot of things that the mind is thinking about or is afraid about, or how I'm gonna be after that. It's all in the head. The whole reality thing is in the head. It's a conditioned terminology. And actually, recently I inquired a bit deeper into the origin of reality, of the word of reality. And the word reality came from a Latin word, and it means a thing. Reality means a thing. So, you know, I was having discussion with someone, and what is reality? This word reality itself, because it doesn't feel natural, this word reality. And I just opened up the dictionary, and I checked it out, and it means a thing. And how can you call reality a thing? It's false in itself. So the word reality is already a certain deception, whoever has invented this word reality, because it creates the unnatural disconnectedness in the mental understanding. It supports the ego. The word reality supports ego and the mind. While in experience, in consciousness, it's not healthy to think in terms of the word reality, because it refers to something objective only. While reality is not only objective, not only made of things, now everybody knows that reality is all energy and consciousness. So where does the word thing comes in? Or what is referred to a thing? So I would really highly suggest everyone remove the word reality from your thinking process, from your understanding process, and replace it with something which is much more natural, with the word experience. My experience. And you will see how in your brain and in your mind things will make much more sense. When you think in terms of experience, there is something to relate with. There's no fear, of course. There's something to relate with, and it's something that you can work upon. And when you think about reality, you become disempowered right away. Yeah, do you get that? As soon as you think about the word reality, you feel disempowered, because you kind of can't do anything about it, because yeah, it's a false statement in the first place. So I see that someone who is hijacking the Latin and the English vocabulary, and this word should be removed and replaced with the word experience. And that is a healthy way of inquiring. All right.
Thank you for your explanation. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. And Gregory, did you have a question?
Yes, hi Mindo. My connection is slow, so if I'm not clear, mute me. I get confused with subject and object. I know three things: thoughts, feelings, sensations. And the I that knows these is what we speculate as and call non-dual consciousness. You said a few minutes ago that we should know, we should have experience of the light of consciousness. And is that different than the I that is experiencing it? And I mostly base my life on meditation. And when I'm deep in, an hour can go by so quickly. But there is an I still there who knows that I'm meditating. And so that I think of as the self. And when it comes to non-duality, I get confused between subject and object.
Mm-hmm.
Not very clear questions.
Oh, okay, okay. So first of all, what would be helpful for you is to forget the I. Consciously forget the I. Because you bring so much focus to it, and therefore it creates the focus to the I, it creates already a certain paradox and a certain disturbance. So you have been looking so much to the I that it's rather better to change your focus and look at the self. And to look at the self, it's good to forget the clouds, the I. So it's the same thing with subject-object, that you don't have to solve it. I would suggest to consciously forget about subject-object. And you will see that subject-object, it was just a thought. And now, since you can forget about it, you will feel much more free from the subject-object. So sometimes investigating something too much keeps it there.
Okay.
So if you, it's, you know, what I'm saying is for people who have a much deeper capacity, and it's just like situation with the pain. You know, you pinch yourself or you hurt yourself, and if you closely look at it, it's going to hurt more. It's going to hurt more if you really look at your, you know, your hand or your finger, which is hurting. Is your focus on it is just hurt you more. And if you just put your hand away and do something else, you will forget that even your hand or finger is hurt. So you will be in a natural way. So the same thing with self-enquiry, that sometimes we investigate things so deeply that we sustain them, that we're focusing too much on it, and we are kind of keeping it by the focus. So if we withdraw our focus from the subject object or the I, and say, I can withdraw my focus away from the I, and then I can just consciously turn my head to the self, or maybe just forget about the I for a moment. And you can even consciously practice forgetting, because your mind, if you have spent much time inquiring, has developed certain brain patterns and certain neural pathways to investigate the I. But to be free, you need to not be interested in the I anymore. Yeah, so withdraw your interest, withdraw your investigation, consciously forget, and turn your face to a natural self. Just I am myself and I don't even know what the I is. And,
For sure, something magic is going on.
Repeat, what did you say just now?
For sure, no matter what, something magic is going on these last weeks and months.
Yes, yes.
I feel like I'm loved by, and just anyway. So the no I is a really good suggestion. I will take that to heart.
Yes, yes, yes. And conscious forgetting of the problem is also very liberating.
Thank you.
Yes. If we investigate the problems too much, they just stay there. If we forget about the problems, well, you have holiday and freedom. Yes. And
that fine gap between no thought and thought is so interesting.
yes, but a thought is not a problem unless it is a problem. For me, there's no problem with thoughts. If one comes, oh, fine. Just like a cloud comes. I have no problems with the clouds. I have no problems with the cats in the street. I have no problems with the thoughts if they come. So if there is a, a problem is a problem. And so therefore, withdraw even from that fine problem, fine line problem. Yes. Okay, Nicole.
Hi everyone. I'm Mindo. Mindo, I know that like this reality that we create and experience is something
experience.
That we experience is, you know how you say you cannot teach spirituality, you have to experience it. But I would like to ask you to give us a concrete example of something that how your perception changed when you reached non-duality and when you realized non-duality. Maybe something about, because I feel like even when you explain, somehow I get caught up in your explanation and saying, but how is it possible, because they end up going into the split of the I and the other person, and what will change in my relationship with other people, what will change?
You don't have to overcomplicate it. Yeah, you don't. That's exactly where we shouldn't think too much about the non-duality. It's very personal. First of all, it's very personal. I can see another question by Angie. If there's no I, how come each of us is unique? That's another theoretical question. Yeah, it's another theoretical question, because it's all about your own experience. And if you just relax into your own experience, non-duality means that you are aware when certain energy arises in you and tries to pull you into it. You're aware when certain mental structure arises and it tries to pull you into it. When certain energy or structure requires your story, it wants to keep a story. So essentially, non-duality means that you're present and you're aware of what arises, and you can simply notice that this is conditional, and I don't need to support the condition. I don't need to act out a condition. I can just be present and not react to it. It's the real meaning of non-reaction in the Buddhist teachings. It's there is an observation, and the real meaning of non-reaction, whatever arises, there's no resistance, there's no denial. You're just simply present with what arises, but you're not reacting to it in a conditioned way. So in simple ways to say that you're not reacting to things in conditioned way. You're not supporting the ego, you're not supporting the mind, the story, and you're not acting out funnily, on certain emotions and things like that. You're not making unnecessary arguments. Yeah, so therefore it's that deeper abidance, which is a transcendent abidance from these kind of sticky dualities. That's all what it really means. And today I just explained many other aspects of non-duality that some people stick so long with this transcendental state that they go into denial of the world and otherhood. And that's where it starts shifting into unhealthy non-duality. So, you know, to liberate oneself and feel much lighter and at ease is, you know, it's a healthy path. But then to start, you know, denying what is obviously present here it's unhealthy. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of bring it all out with all of the aspects that you would get to know it. But as I said, it's not a philosophy, and it's about your own experience. And if you know, certain concern arised in you, like you just said, and you know, Angie and Peter, it means that you went into your mind and something concerning perhaps arose, and just drop it. You know, just don't get concerned and don't go into any fear, because that would be that. So don't go into unnecessary mental processes. Just stay with your own experience and just see that perhaps, you know, as you were listening to me, your mind was looking for some mental juice and mental food, and on one side, or maybe on another side, got confused and a bit worried, you know, one way or the other. And that's the duality of the mind. So non-duality is not feeding the mind in any way, in a juicy way or you know, scary way.
So this is why you explain it as the pre-stage
Yes.
to enlightenment, not so much as enlightenment, because it's one part of the whole
Yes.
experience.
Exactly, yes. It's a transcendent experience. It's a certain lightness, liberation, but awareness is not kind of fully bright, we can say, because a person is looking more at the nothingness side of it, or emptiness side of it, or the space side of it. And enlightenment means light, enlightening, bringing the light in. And therefore awareness is the light. And then it shines upon this corner of non-duality that one has enjoyed the space and nothingness as a home, while actually there's something even deeper, which is awareness, aware of the nothingness, awareness, aware of the space. I'll simply explain to everyone that you are aware of the daytime, you're aware of the nighttime. The awareness is awareness. Yeah, it is something that with what you are aware. If it's a daytime, that's fine. If it's a nighttime, it's fine too. Yeah, but you're aware of both. So duality is that, you know, daytime, nighttime, and you know, inner light is light, and love is love, and then nothingness is nothingness, but all of it is in awareness.